Hello, everyone. I am live, and today I am talking about PTSD and how I manage it. Oh, fuck. Where did my notes go to? Stay with me here. Anyway, I can't find my note. There it is. So, today I'm talking about PTSD and how I manage it. This was inspired, just how things are inspired by life. So I deal with a lot of body tension, a lot of body tension. I always have, but since I became aware years ago of my trauma, that's when the PTSD really set in for me, even though I could see that my anxiety and that sort of PTSD response had been building over my lifetime. But then once I became like fully aware of it, which also happened to coincide when I crashed and burned out, that's when it just really set in. And now, kind of like your physical body kind of has an imprint. That's the difference between like anxiety and PTSD, I think, is that it's PTSD feels really separate sometimes, and that it your body is still thinking, regardless of what your mind thinks. Your body is still imprinted in that heightened state of fight or flight response, and that it's constantly in danger. And one of the ways that manifests for me is a whole lot of body tension and racing thoughts. And so some things that I do to bring that down and to slow my thoughts and relax my body are as follows. Now, these might not work for you. They were not suggested to me. These are just things that I have found have helped me cope. And so they might help you, or they might just inspire you to find ways to help you have a better quality of life. So one of the things that I do, especially when I have what I call a PTSD attack, which feels different than what other people describe as a panic attack. Um, uh, anyway, I'll just go on and not go into that. But when I have what is called like a PTSD flare up or trigger or attack in my body, and it feels like that it's climbing like Mount Everest. To get away from a bear or whatever, is I lay prostrate on the floor on my belly with my arms and my legs out and my face on the floor. Now, the reason why I think this helps me physiologically is because what my body wants to do is tense up like this. My muscles want to go like this. My arms want to go like this. Everything is tensing, and so when you lay flat on the floor, um, uh, it's kind of like a passive massage. You're not going to feel massage, but I think that's kind of how it works physically, because your body is unable to clench up. You're completely spread out, and the floor is hard. And so as your body continues to try to contract, it can't, and it eventually loosens and relaxes. And while I do that, while I lay on the floor, uh, I take deep breaths. Um, I've demonstrated deep breaths on this channel before, but just in case, I just take a real, and I don't count. I don't do any of that formatty kind of shit that other people say you have to. I hate it when people are counting when they're taking deep breaths, and I hate it when they told me I do not want to hold my breath. When I hold my breath, my PTSD body freaks out because it feels like it's being deprived of oxygen. So I just take a long breath in, what feels good, and then I take a long breath out according to what feels good. So it just looks something like this. Hey, old school Dave. But it just looks something like this. I just go, and I just do that repeatedly over and over. Um, while I'm laying on the floor, and I just do that and with my eyes closed for as long as I need to until I eventually realize that I'm relaxed. And that's something that does work for me. Um, I do this at home. Obviously, if you're in a public place, this might be a lot harder. I just race home and just like crawl onto the floor. But I would try it. It really does work for me. And another thing that I do, and this might not work for everybody, is and this is really helpful if my mind is really racy and I just can't get it to calm down or focus. But it also helps with my body tension. Is I take a nap. It sounds counterintuitive. It really sounds counterintuitive. Like how can I nap with all of this energy, this strong energy? But it's kind of like I liken it to dissociating, but dissociating for your body, where like dissociating is where your mind just kind of exits reality. You don't like look like you're tripping or anything. It's just kind of like daydreamy, kind of like you're just like checked out, you know? And I think it works on that same kind of level. I haven't read any studies about this. This is just me analyzing what I know about the human body and what I'm experiencing. But what the reason why I think this works for me is because it's like when my mind wants to exit and I try to take a nap, it's like my mind goes, "Oh yeah, we can shut down the whole system. That works too. We don't we don't have to keep the body going." And so if I'm feeling really tense and racy, I try to take a nap. And usually, I don't know if this helps, but usually when I take a nap, I take a nap kind of curled up. Like it's kind of the opposite of laying on the floor, I guess. But so you might try it like in a like a chair, like a recliner chair, or if you have a pet, like get them on the chair with you so you're cuddled up, and then or just surround yourself with pillows or whatever. And I just lay there and I close my eyes, and I'm always shocked at how quickly I end up falling asleep and how deeply I sleep, and how relaxed I feel when I wake up. You can set a timer if you want. Sometimes I do set a timer for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Um, and I know this sounds like, oh, it's not going to work. I don't take naps, but when I take him in this situation, it always helps. It always helps. It's kind of like a reset. It's like going back to bed and resetting, um, and waking up again. Another thing that I do is okay. This is kind of a trick, and this is kind of a dangerous advice, I guess. But and I've never heard any kind of. I don't know if this is recommended in therapy, but as a person who suffers from PTSD, I'm telling you, I have found this to be very healing. Is when you're stuck in like a thought cycle, like you're having flashbacks and you're just like thinking about a situation, but you're trying not to think about it, and it's just really stressing you out and you can't focus on the day or anything or whatever. Is I just sit down, or you pace if you want, but I try to sit down and I let myself think about the entire situation, and I think about it from the beginning all the way to the end. Now, if this isn't a flashback, if this is anxiety about something in the future, do the same thing. I let myself think about it. I say, okay, we're not going to fight this. Okay. My subconscious wants to think about this. It's freaked out about something. And so, we're going to sit here and we're going to think about it. And I said, I just start from the beginning and I analyze it all the way through. And if it's like an ending that hasn't played out, go follow the ending, follow that stressful ending that you're afraid of all the way to the end. um, and there's something about that. There's something about feeding into it, giving it what it wants, and then after, it's like letting a toddler scream, because then when they're done, it's like their fire's gone. You know what I'm saying? They don't have anything left to get out. And I found this to be very, very helpful, in letting go of cyclical thoughts, is just allowing yourself, not distracting yourself. If you have the ability and the chance to do this, to just sit there and think about it, and allow yourself to play it out all the way to the end. Now, it also helps, if you're trying to, once you think about it all the way to the end, to 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 imagine another scenario that's complementary to that scenario that happens, and you can just make this up in your head, okay? Uh, where you imagine that scenario resolving. Now, this doesn't mean that you imagine that person the way that they're not, or the situation the way that it isn't, but you imagine after that whole scary scenario happens, you continue on until you imagine some kind of conclusion. Now, whether this is you like saying certain words to a person or situation that you never got to say, like to stick up for yourself or protect yourself or something like that, or even if it's like allowing yourself to fight back. If it's a situation, like if you have trauma over a situation or with people, and then after you've thought about the whole situation, and then you allow yourself to imagine a scenario where you come in contact with them again and you fight back, or you give them a piece of your mind. um, I found that that really helps console the subconscious, because what your racing thoughts and your rage is about is usually that you never got to fight back, you never got to escape, you never got to say these things to stick up for yourself. So do that, and doing that in your mind is a much safer place for that. And I've found that uh, after I do that, like I said, that I'm able to let it go a little bit better. um, and hey, Tiger, thanks. That's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up. and uh, and so I would try that. Make sure that it. I don't know. But make sure when you're imagining scenarios that it's not some kind of conclusion or something that will just like make that will just further your anxiety. I don't know if that makes any sense, but just play with that. And I found that really helps in letting go of toxic thought cycles and toxic thought loops, and just like constantly replaying painful things with people and stuff like that. Is think about it all the way through, and then imagine a scenario where you're able to step up or resolve it in some way, even if it never comes to fruition in the real world. It really helps. Another thing is stretch. I know this just sounds like this is not going to solve anything, but this is all palliative care. Okay, this is all just improving your quality of life. And if you deal with a lot of body tension like I do, because it's stress and PTSD, is stretch, man. Just really just. And I agree, you cannot rely on stretching. You're going to be stretching till the day is long. And sometimes I feel like I do, but it does help um, a little bit. It helps sometimes, and it's just going to be good for the health of your muscles, so that you don't develop like TMJ, or you don't like develop like just you're just like tight walking around like this. It's good for your muscles to relax. Stretching relaxes your muscles and keeps them from being tight. And it's good for your blood flow. It's good for it's like meditative. You can do this in bed. Just like moving your legs around, twisting from side to side, bending over, whatever. I get a lot of it in my shoulders and my arms. What does help is if I start to feel like I'm clenching in my shoulders, is I'll just drop and do. I don't do 10 push-ups because I'm weak. I do 8, but I just drop and do 8 push-ups. And there's something about working out those muscles that keeps them like tiring them. It keeps them from clenching up. Um, I know there's a lot of dudes that watch this, and so I mean, I don't know. Is that sexist? And dudes know how to do push-ups? I guess not every dude knows how to do push-ups, but just in case you don't do push-ups like this. Do push-ups like this. This will hurt your body. This will not hurt your body. So there's the lesson. Okay. Another thing is, and this might not help for everyone, this might not be available to everyone, and this sounds really simple and generic, but if you have a lot of worked up anxiety and a lot of momentum and a lot of adrenaline, is go for a walk or run. And I try not to make it complicated. Every time I go to do this, I say, Jamie, don't make it complicated, where I'm like, am I wearing the clothes I need to wear to run or whatever? I just put on my shoes, put on a jacket and a hat or whatever, and I just go out and walk. Or I have a dog, and so we'll go out and we'll run. like a run walk thing, and uh, just do, yeah, just run it out. I don't know, just run it out. If you have a partner, sex also works for this. Sex it out, man. Like, get that adrenaline going, get those, I don't know, sex works. Sex is good for your body. Okay. So, uh, there you go. So if, you're in a if your PTSD revolves is triggered by being around people, uh, and you feel like your PTSD is being triggered, just leave, and I do. There is no reason why you need to force yourself. Uh, you need to protect yourself. You really do, and that's okay. Right now, um, if you're not ready for some kind of like exposure therapy, I've tried that before. It did not go very well. Just throwing myself in. Go take baby steps, and if you're getting triggered, just politely excuse yourself. Then sometimes, if you're not afraid to say it, I just say it sometimes. Like, hey guys, my anxiety is getting really triggered. My body is, and I'm just gonna dip, but I'll see you guys later. Or just say, hey, I'm gonna go. Bye. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. If you're in any kind of situation where because we all know if you have PTSD, there's a lot of physical consequences to triggering your PTSD that feel like they ruin your life, keep you from living. So just don't go there, don't be ashamed. Don't feel bad. You're doing something good for yourself and good for your body at this time. It might not always be like this, but if a situation or a person is bad for your PTSD, then don't do it. Just don't do it. Uh, that brings me to my next one: is find, if you can, safe ways to be social, so you don't feel like that you have to, that you're constantly just like ignoring, or you can't be a part of the world. If that's something that you want to fix, a good way for me was, I was able last year to get into 3 months of group therapy, and even though it was so triggering it was triggering for my PTSD. It's triggering to talk about it. I'm being triggered right now. I'm like full body sweating right now I'm talking about it. but but I know at this point that I have a lot of coping mechanisms to deal with this. I took a nap right before this, and right after we're done, I'm going to take my dog on a walk, and then I'm going to come home and eat a bunch of food that I just made. And that's another thing, is eating will help ground you too. Eating good food, good healthy food, like with a lot of protein, a little bit of fat. People tend to hate on fat, but there are healthy fats, and fat in minority or in moderation is still good for your body. And I really do find that when I cut out fat completely, I don't feel good. My body doesn't work as well. It's sounds generic, but it's a balance. Finding what's good for you: a little bit of fat, a lot of protein, some carbs, or whatever works for you. But eat. Don't be afraid to eat, to ground yourself. It brings yourself back to the present. Um, and then uh, I don't know. Uh, did I get them all? Oh, if you're in a situation, and I'm not good at this one. I'm not good at this one, but about speaking up about triggers to people that you care about, that will understand, and that wouldn't necessarily mind, that care about you being triggered and not wanting to make things worse for you. I recently had a first time session with a new therapist that I'm probably not going to go back to, but I, I had to just stop in the middle and say, hey, I've already, therapy triggers me, and I already have spent the morning trying to calm myself down, and so I don't like work myself into a migraine. And for me, when my PTSD is about to rage, all of my senses become very, very sensitive. And that includes sound. And so if I get around people who are talking loudly, Like I can literally just feel my muscle in my head just like clenching with every syllable, you know. So um, this is also trying to encourage me too, because I I don't want my PTSD to become other people's problem. I know that, you know, it's part of the reason why I don't socialize very much, you know, but like if you're with a family member or with like a therapist or anyone who, a friend who understands your situation, and trying to find a way to politely say, hey man, I'm really struggling with my senses today and my PTSD. Can we close those blinds? Do you mind? Or can we take the level of the auditory level of our conversation down a notch? Because I do it too. I'll start to talk loudly as my anxiety starts going. Um, uh, and so it's just trying to help, just inform people who could help you and want to help you how they can help you. And really it's just simple things like that, is lowering the overall anxiety level, trying to be calm, taking down the lights or whatever, you know. Let's see what we got over here in the comments. Hey, first time here, I want to thank you for your content, especially this stuff you did with Harley Poe. Oh, cool. That's cool. Thank you for being here. Tiger says, oh, Tiger knows Dave. Cool. Sometimes I enjoy laying on the floor. Yeah, I lay on the floor all the time. Um, Laying on the floor on your back is also really good for me. When I just have like cramps and stuff in my back, that's not as severe as when I need to lay prostrate. Just laying on the floor really helps kind of relax my back muscles and helps them crack a little bit. Let's see. Ogami. I don't know how to. Is it Ido? Ido Ogami? Is that how you say it? Because I got PTSD after my diagnosis of testicle cancer. I beat that bastard easy. Awesome. But the feeling when I don't feel good or got stomach issues or something isn't normal. Kills me. Breathing problems, weakness. Point is how to beat that PTSD stuff when you got triggered by your body. German here. Hope you understand all. Yeah, I think so. I think I get what you're saying. Yeah. Cool. Welcome, German person. Yeah, you're going to fit right in. Americans have a lot of trauma. We're raging right now, trying to deal with our national trauma. Okay. Um, um, anyway, what time are we at? It's 22 minutes. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Um, Palo Piles. Hey, now it's like giving your mind a break. Yeah, that's what I feel. I am going to dip now because I'm thoroughly sweating and I'm getting really red, if you can't tell in my face. And so I need to calm down because this is hard for me to talk about. I don't like to talk about my PTSD. I don't like to talk about my trauma anymore, because I'm in a new phase and it's a triggering. Once you get to a certain spot, that's another thing I want to say is after, once you go through, I spent a couple years doing the thing where I just allowed myself to think about all my trauma and figure out ways to heal from it and things like that. But then you eventually get to a spot where you're like, okay, this is no longer productive. This is really just an involuntary response. Like my body's just living like an imprint in clay, you know, like it's just an imprint on my body. This kind of state is. And so talking about my trauma after that point was no longer helpful. So I don't like to talk about my trauma to people anymore. I don't like to talk about PTSD because it's so easily triggered, and it's hard to calm down from that. But anyway, so you did great. Take your time. Thanks. Old school. Take it easy, buddy. Thanks, man. But yeah, I'm going to dip and I'm going to go run my dog. And I hope this was really, really helpful. And thanks to you guys for tuning in. I hope this helps somebody. That's why I sacrificed and did it. So peace, you guys. Take care of yourselves.